startups? What led you into that?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I had a lot of anxiety that was produced last year during the COVID year in running Sweet Centric. You know, I didn't know what the COVID year was going to look like for us or our clients, and so I was very worried about that. I didn't want to have to lay anybody off. I think at the beginning of the COVID year, maybe we had around 20-ish people, and we're like a little family here. Um, Prior to COVID, we were more of an in-house in the office company. And all of a sudden, the rug was pulled out from under us and we had to go remote, like in the matter of like a day, I feel like. We became a remote company. I will say that even now, we've decided to stay a permanently remote company. We have some people that come in the office, but most everybody's remote. But I was getting anxiety attacks. I mean, as the year was progressing on, I I thought, I have to be doing everything I could do to ensure the health of this company and to ensure that I'm not going to have to lay anybody off. And so we did have a project come along that I assigned myself as the lead developer and kind of the lead project manager and the lead solution architect. And really just, I was probably all of 2020 averaging about 70 hours a week working, while, I have two young kids at home. I have two older kids as well. And so trying to balance my personal life with, how much I was working. And I started getting these anxiety attacks that just they kept rearing their ugly head easier and easier and more frequently. And to the point where, I didn't know, I couldn't see how I was going to put myself back in the place where I could heal that and I could make that go away. So I kept working and pushing myself. The anxiety attacks kept happening. Finally, I did get to a place where I knew that I had to hire some team members, hire some developers to come in and alleviate me off this project. Because I was so heads down on this project, I wasn't doing the other things at Sweet Centric. I wasn't being a CEO and I wasn't being a leader. I was just being a developer. I was being a resource, and it was crushing me. And I started working with my business coach, Kristen Taylor, in April of 2021 this year. And just in the introspection and the questions that she asked and the safe place that she established where we can have conversations that were sometimes painful, it really helped me to look within and identify what is important in my own life. My 16 or so year career as a NetSuite consultant, I've primarily been a software developer in that space. And so for me, when I founded Sweet Centric 5 years ago and became the CEO, that was a new thing for me. I had, obviously done some other things. You mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, wedding photography and a startup that I try to get off the ground. So I've done this entrepreneur thing before, but I've never really been a CEO in this type of role. And
Right.
so, in addition to this introspection that I was doing, I identified that, I think for the first 3 or so years, I was really feeling this imposter syndrome and thinking that I had to be a certain type of CEO. Like I had to know everything about NetSuite. I had to know how to navigate challenging clients, legal issues, that sort of a thing. And so it was through this work with my coach and basically, from the questions that she was asking me, helping me to look within, I recognized that, I don't have to try to be something I'm not. I am an empathetic, sensitive person. I've always been. I've always felt what other people have felt, to the point where it's created some blind spots where, I think I give people a lot of the benefit of the doubt, or, may have let myself get, taken advantage of at times. But I really started looking at that empathy that was within me as a strength. And that I can actually build a whole leadership practice and model built upon that empathy. And so, I finally now recognize the type of leader that I could be. It did require that I get out of all of the projects that I was doing and really just entrust all that work to my management team to execute on. And so that, I needed that because once this past March, when I finally hired all these developers and I got out of that project, this was really the first time in the company's history where I was able to separate and be a more strategic visionary type leader. So, good timing, because now with the work I was doing to look within, I really identified with the type of leader that I wanted to be. And that was to use my empathy to be a model for my employees and create a fun, safe, rewarding atmosphere that our team feels valued in and where they feel it's like a family. It didn't ever sit right with me to be the type of manager that was just focused on productivity and bottom line. I know that these are people that I'm working with, and what inspires me most are relationships. And so I decided to really double down on that. And, I think, and I've said this before, it's going to be a forever work in progress. I'm always thinking, what more can I do to be a leader with compassion, a leader with empathy? One thing that we did was I hired my business coach, Kristen, to come in and provide company-wide mindfulness sessions. So she did 4 1-hour sessions company-wide. And then we have 5 other managers besides myself. For our management team, I hired her to do 3 individual one-on-ones with each manager. I think they were like 90 minutes each. And what that did was it basically established with our management team that the importance of the leading with empathy, how to use emotional intelligence to essentially create a safe place for our employees to work and live within. So, what I'm after is not so much productivity, but by creating that environment where our employees feel that they are valued, that we have their best interest in mind, it does result in better, successful projects. Our team feels rewarded. They feel more engaged. We have seen quite a bit of attrition this year, which comes from the Great Resignation. But everybody that has left has told me that it has nothing to do with Centric. We really liked working here. But, this is the flip side to the Great Resignation, is because the job market is so thin, especially in the NetSuite space. NetSuite, which is growing so rapidly, it's really thinned out the job market, and we're seeing compensations really grow quite significantly this year. And so that's kind of where we've seen attrition. But, everybody who's left, they said, we really, I wasn't even looking, like we really liked working here. So, that's kind of where that all came from.
Well, I would say I work as a coach in addition to currently a podcast producer, and to hear your openness and to look at it face on from within, because the spirit of the leader is oftentimes transferred to the spirit of the team that is around him. So for you to bridge that gap and to bring in your own coach, to partner with your team, to build them and to sharpen them in their internal lives and their external lives, that's major for you to do that, because most leaders are not open in that space with their teams as they're going through transformation, right? It's not easy to open up in that way in front of them. So you were able to bridge a relationship with your team that is commendable, right? And in such a way of care and empathy. And so I want to hear a little bit. You're celebrating your 5 years. That's exciting. That's exciting. And perseverance, I'm sure, is certainly there. What has been one of your most enjoyable experiences since you have started Centric?
One of my most enjoyable experiences. I really like, and I really miss the times when we've all been able to get together in person. Now that we are um, a permanently remote company, we still have a lot of people that are here in the San Diego area, and I just always cherish those moments when we can get together and just celebrate. We recently had a company dinner for our local employees, and it's those moments. It's just getting together and seeing everybody have a good time. That's that's where I feel the most rewarded. Now, yes, we've won some awards. I mentioned the Commerce Partner of the Year, um, and we've won some others, and that's rewarding. But I don't really think that is where I get the most satisfaction as to what we're doing. It very much is just the relationships and when we've been able to get together as a team and celebrate.
Amazing. That's awesome. So you have a strong background in development in the realm of technology. And we have seen over the decade and into this new decade, huge advancements in business and the operation of technology. Do you see AI taking over many business operations and it being a large part of businesses across the globe and replacing AI with human interaction?
I think AI is definitely going to be more present in a lot of ways in industry. I just had an interview with Brandon Cooper, who's the CEO of a company called Aphid, which is, I believe, they're using blockchain technology to kind of reinvent the 9 to 5. It's the way Brandon described it is kind of using AI um, to take care of a lot of tasks that we normally have to do manually. And another perspective to look at that is, I'm a software developer. So a lot of what I've been doing is automating things, using, I am going to call it AI, but it's essentially programming and automating functionality within, in particular, the NetSuite systems to, achieve or enforce certain business rules and business logic. And I just see more and more of that, creeping into industry, especially with blockchain, significantly with blockchain. A company that I'm interested in is called Chainlink, which is a smart contract blockchain technology that supports I guess that different crypto companies that rely on external data, but making that data available in a secure way within the blockchain. So, we're going to see more and more of these blockchain technologies that take over a lot of, how industry is run right now. I mean, decentralized finance is just such a prime example. I mean, if you look at, this is just me, kind of like looking at the future, and I don't know, but I think if you look at things like the real estate industry, I mean, it's very transactional, and there's a lot of manual steps that occur during the process of, for example, buying a home. And, that might be something where you might see some blockchain and smart contract automation and transactional enforcement in a decentralized way that kind of take over a lot of how these traditional historical ways that the real estate market has transacted up till now. So that's just an example, but I do see AI for sure taking over a lot of, and I want to be careful to use that word, taking over people's tasks, because what I think it's going to do is I think AI is going to enhance and augment in a very positive way the work that will still need to be done manually. I mean, just going back to the consulting industry and talking about how it's been historically prone to producing, a lot of burnout and a lot of people that are working, 60, 70 hours a week. Well, what if we could automate a lot of that, still work a full week, but, using AI to now free up more time for us to invest in our personal lives. So I really see it helping and benefiting the workforce.
Amazing. Well, we are just about to get ready to close the podcast segment. It has